Hi, good afternoon. This is Heather Blagg-Davis, and I wanted to give you an update about the GMO bill in California. There is a bill, and I think it's called Prop 37, and Californians, they have the ability under their state constitution to start their own ballot initiatives. And Californians, being as progressive as they are and open-minded and scientifically up to date, they want to start mandatory GMO labeling. And if you don't know what GMOs are, that's genetically modified organism. And I don't know if you know this, but some of our food has been genetically modified by these biotechnology companies like Monsanto and others. And there have been some independent studies that have shown that these GMOs, or GE, genetically engineered foods, are dangerous, meaning they can cause cancer. They have these genes that are injected that have been shown to cross over, meaning the bacteria in the gut of the rats is consuming this terminator gene, and then that gene can thereby become a part of the rat's DNA. Yikes. Rats are having babies that can't have babies. Rats are having babies with unusually small sexual organs. There are a lot of independent studies about GMOs that are very scary. You can read a lot of the science in Seeds of Deception, which is a fabulous book written by Jeffrey Smith, who is the leader of the Institute for Responsible Technology. But in California, they're up to date, they're scientifically savvy, they want to label these GMOs. Well, there is, of course, a backlash. And the backlash is coming from people who want to keep the GMOs from being labeled. They've got, of course, a lot more money than people like Dr. Mercola and Jeffrey Smith and others who are funding the campaign against the GMOs or for the labeling. These other companies have a lot of money, and I kind of covertly acquired some of their information because I wanted to know what their game plan was. And first of all, there's a newsletter going around where it's going from business owner to business owner. That's a preset kind of newsletter where you can just put the name of your organization in. And it says some really interesting things. And I just want to read to you some of what this newsletter says. You may be really interested in hearing this. So this is what the company is called, or the this machine, I'll call it a machine, they're all machines to me, is called Stop Costly Food Labeling, and it's this whole campaign or PAC or whatever, one of the, scammy groups that basically is an organization to hide the companies that really actually don't want to label their own food. So, first I want to tell you some of the organizations that are involved in it, and then I want to read to you this newsletter that they're sending around. Like, wow. So some of the organizations that are involved is the California Farm Bureau Federation, California Women for Agriculture, California Grain and Feed Association, the Seed Association, the Agricultural Retailers Association, the Pacific Egg and Poultry Association. I mean, this is a huge list, okay? I'm going to skip down. There's a couple of health organizations. Oh, okay, back to agriculture. The American Meat Institute. I mean, are these like real? I don't know if some of these are, I've never heard of a lot of these organizations before, so maybe I'm not up to speed, or maybe these are just popping up for convenience. I don't know. Health, there's Consumer Healthcare Products Association. Wow, you think they would want GMOs labeled, but Consumer Healthcare Products Association. Gosh. Then there's the American Council on Science and Health. Well, okay. For consumers, the Consumers Coalition of California, there's the California Chamber of Commerce, a lot of these companies, or organizations, excuse me. Then there's the California Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, because they're claiming that this bill has a loophole where you could sue the people. Oh my goodness. You mean liability for what you give people? Excuse me. That's insane. Anyway. I really choked. The California Grocers Association, Independent Grocers Association, they're on this Stop Costly Food Labeling bill. They're supporting it, whatever. Under tax organizations, okay, here's where your tax dollars are going to, Californians. California Taxpayer Protection Committee, Orange County Taxpayers Association, Humboldt Taxpayers League, San Diego Tax Fighters, Sutter County Taxpayers Association. So if you California taxpayers, if there's a majority of you who are even getting this ballot initiative, obviously there's already a majority. That's how the ballot initiative, I believe, got passed, or maybe it hasn't passed yet, but I see a little dissonance here in between the taxpayers associations and the taxpayers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you should contact these organizations, like I said, especially the taxpayer ones, the California Taxpayer Protection Committee, Orange County Taxpayers Association, Humboldt Taxpayers League, San Diego Tax Fighters, Sutter County Taxpayers Association. Contact them and say, hey, I'm a taxpayer. I want GMOs labeled. Okay, if you do. Just a suggestion. And then I want to tell you a couple things that are going around in this newsletter. It is so messed up. It's a little form thing, and they're saying that it's going to be really expensive to do all this labeling, okay? Which, changing a label isn't the most expensive thing. The most expensive thing is really to go from GMO to non-GMO. I know because I've been trying to develop my own product and get around FDA, just not get around, but figure it out without having to hire a team of lawyers, and it's really hard, okay? So just to even get a product off the ground. So once you have a product off the ground, if it's got genetically engineered stuff in it, oh my gosh, like, it's going to be really hard to source non-GMO ingredients and make sure that they're good and just follow all the laws. And yes, it's hard to switch, okay? But switching a label is like the easiest thing, okay? You just have to call up the person and say, is this GMO, or where do you get this seed? And then switch and redesign a label. You can get a $40 label design program, okay? So I think that's straight propaganda. I'm sorry, but it is. Adding this may contain, you know, GE ingredients or whatever is not going to be costly. Then they're saying, let's see, requiring scary sounding labels will only mislead or confuse consumers. Okay. They're scary sounding. It's going to mislead them to tell them that there's genetically engineered stuff in there. And it's going to confuse them. Why? Because consumers are so stupid? Come on, this is straight propaganda. Okay? Then they go on to trash one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Joseph Mercola. He's a doctor of osteopathic medicine, and he has the #1 natural health website. He's right up there. Natural News is up there too. But Dr. Mercola sells a line of supplements that I personally, with my pre-med degree, I think is some of the best quality supplements out there. Okay? This guy knows what he's doing. And they're saying, oh, he's not practicing and he makes millions of dollars selling this money. Okay, so I guess it's not okay for him to make money by selling healthy things. But I guess it is okay for companies to sell genetically engineered ingredients to be cheaper and have a higher profit margin, basically, but they don't want to label it. Ridiculous. Dr. Mercola labels everything, and he has very few, he doesn't even have fillers. I mean, the stuff is good, okay? It's good supplements. Anyway, they trash him and say he's totally against vaccines and he's against mammograms and he's opposed to chemotherapy. Well, you know, after watching my mom die after chemotherapy, I think it's a refreshing breath of fresh air to see a doctor that offers alternative advice. Someone with the training who also offers alternative advice and doesn't say, well, you might live 6 months if you take this. Okay? And on top of that, he's not opposed to vaccines. His information is very easily accessible. He is pro-vaccine safety. He wants more liability by the vaccine manufacturers. He wants less contaminants. Okay, so trashing Dr. Mercola, and then they go on to say, we don't want someone like that to dictate the kinds of food we eat and how our foods are labeled. Well, they're dictating the food we eat, okay, by taking their corporate, you know, blood money that they get from selling these crappy GE cancer-causing fertility reduction machine foods and putting it in these front organizations to stop the taxpayers who obviously want the things labeled from actually getting what they want. And they've got the taxpayer organizations in on it. Oh my gosh. So contact those organizations, okay? StopCostlyFoodLabeling.com is the website that's doing this, and there's a list, you know, of who they are, and they are encouraging this newsletter to be sent out, and it's not accurate information. So contact the taxpayers, and I don't know, I'm not saying to like trash this website or bombard them, but we know who they are. They give us a list, you know, and it sounds like one of these little LLCs, that some of them, that could be started at any moment. I don't know. I could follow the money trail and maybe find that out. It's not that hard to just open up like an organization just for the purpose of funneling money. Okay, people with lots of money. Stephen Colbert did a thing on it. I'm not accusing anyone of money laundering, okay? But really, who's paying for Stop Costly Food Labeling? Who's paying for that? The profits from the GE foods that you have been eating because they don't want you to get confused. So there you have it, folks. There's my update. Fight this fight. Go California!